All right, good morning, everybody. It's 9 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. Um, there we go. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great beginning of your week. We're going to talk about a couple things today. As always, we want to keep these kind of short. Probably looking at 15 or 20 minutes, depending on how many questions or any other discussions we may have. If you're new to the Training Tuesdays, my name is Dave Luttrell. I'm the new Procurement Training Manager for the CPOGS, and we'll be having these calls every Tuesday at 9 o'clock. So today we're going to talk about um, the new RFP job aids were posted last Friday. So woohoo, we love that. And you'll see some changes there. So go ahead and start using those new job aids. So we always want to say, make sure you're going out and using those new updated versions because we're going to continually be updating those. You'll see that coming out very soon. So I have a couple changes that we need to make to the emergency and the renewal job aids as well. So look for those to be posted later on this week. And we'll all send out communications to all the APOs and SPOs that those have been posted. So we're going to talk about an edit that was made to the small purchase job aid, the informal bid checkbox, and the difference between formal bids and informal bids in BidBuy. We're going to talk about the financial disclosures, step 7 clarification that we have received some feedback on, and we want to touch on that. And just a reminder that you will not change attachments to confidential at the PO that should remain public. So, if you have a sole source hearing documents or emergency statements, those documents that need to remain public, if they are marked show to vendor, if they're public at the bid stage, but then when you convert to PO and then change it to confidential, it takes it away. It makes it confidential at the bid stage too. So just a reminder, we want to keep those showing to the public because that is required. We're going to have a monthly BidBuy training. It's going to be offered soon, so we'll talk about that. And then I'll show you that where the calendar link to the Training Tuesdays is. So it's out on the CPOGS calendar of events. So you can go out and there's no password to get into these. This is open to everybody. Feel free to go out and just click on that, or you could create your own reminder for yourself. All right, so first off, let's jump into the edit to the small purchase job aid. So here's just a screenshot here, and this is what we added. So in the bid stage, so this is a small purchase. If sole source or emergency conditions exist, we're going to select no. Now in the past, you can see that what was redlined here. In the past, we had just put yes. However, if sole source conditions exist or emergency conditions exist, that is no longer a small business set aside procurement. So that has been updated. Similarly, what was already here, but as we speak to it, it's always good to talk about the differences between a small purchase with sole source conditions versus a small purchase with emergency conditions versus a sole source and emergency. So that's something that it's very easy to get confused about, and sometimes even as we have conversations about these procurement methods, I've heard people say things like small emergency or a small sole source. Just want to make sure that we're clear to everybody out there. There are whole different requirements for a sole source versus an emergency versus a small purchase with sole source conditions or a small purchase with emergency conditions. So the only change here is just be looking for that. I will be posting that right after this call today. Okay, so let's talk about formal versus informal bids, and a little bit of confusion that we've had there, and we want to just clear that up for everybody. So this slide is directly from the BuySpeed manual that comes from Periscope Holdings. So formal bids follow the traditional format of they post the bid, vendors produce sealed quotes. When the opening date arrives, open the bid. The quotes are secret, can only be touched by the vendor who submits it, and then the sealed bids cannot be opened by the agency prior to that bid opening date. Now the informal bids, if you check that informal box, they follow the format of they post the bid as an informal bid. The vendors produce quotes that they're not sealed, and then they can be seen by the agency in real time. So the difference is, you as agency personnel, if you have clicked that informal bid box, you can go in and see pricing in real time as they do it. And so an important thing to note here is if that informal bid is checked, the state cannot make those documents attached to quotes confidential. And that's really important because those documents that a vendor attaches, or if it's a paper quote that is sent in to you or emailed perhaps, and then as the state you're going out there and putting in the quote, submitting the quote on behalf of the vendor, you don't have the option to make that confidential. So that's really important because that information needs to be kept confidential. So that's one piece that is it's really important to remember. And in the new version of BidBuy, in version 15, I'm told that this little quirk has been fixed. But for now, our best practice is to leave that informal bid box unchecked. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to your SPO. I mean, we're going to be talking to the SPOs as well. Now, it's just going to be the best practice to keep that unchecked. So that way, nobody can see the prices before that bid opening. Okay, so now we have the step 7 clarification on your financial disclosures. So here is what, screenshot of what that step 7 looks like. And this talks about, the step must be completed for each person disclosed in step 2, option A, step 3, and for each entity and sole proprietor disclosed in step 1. So, when you have that table X and table Y in step 2 that has, maybe there's different ownership, whether you have, 2 owners, you have multiple owners, you have different entities, as well as individuals. This phrase here has caused some confusion, and we want to clear this up. Now, this down here from section 1-15.55 is from the procurement code. So it talks about what person means. And so I can certainly understand where a vendor would be looking at this and saying, step must be completed for each person, but hey, my business is, I own half of it, but then, 2 other LLCs, for instance, own the other 50%, let's say. So this person actually means those entities as well. So the person, according to the procurement code, means any business, public or private, corporation, partnership, individuals, union, committee, club, unincorporated association, or other organization or group of individuals or other legal entity. So essentially, if you are in table X or table Y, you need to be disclosed in step 7. Talking about all these with debarments, legal proceedings, bankruptcies, those questions that are there for step 7. I understand that, like I said, I understand the confusion there, because if I was an individual, completing that person or completing step 7, I might look at person and go, I'm just going to put it all the individuals. So just want to clarify that aspect. Monthly BidBuy training. So we're going to be excited to offer this to, it'll probably be geared more towards newer users, since that's going to be probably the big push. However, we are going to make it open. The CDB Computer Lab at the Stratton building, I'm not sure if you are aware or not, I think there's probably 12, 14 computers in there. We want to make it monthly and have it open to all the users to be able to come in and do that. So the Stratton building is in downtown Springfield, and we're going to provide some more details coming soon, hopefully on this call next week, as well as a communication that's going to go out to all agencies. So some of you that may need a refresher course, it'll probably be a one-day training, and we will be hitting on, a couple different things. I mean, we're obviously going to be going through a lot of the general navigation things. We're going to be going through small purchases. We probably won't do much of a really deep dive on the very specific, maybe some procurement methods that aren't used quite as much, because we want to be able to cast a wider net for these trainings. If you want a specific training for your agency that is one of those, you can always reach out to me. Just as another reminder, again, to all you all agency personnel, APOs, etc. If you want to have additional BidBuy training, I'm happy to come out to your agency, and we can make some separate arrangements that way. My email is at the end of the slides here, so I'll leave that up, and you can always go and email me there, and I'd be happy to come out and do some training for you. Okay, so here's the calendar of events. This is a slide that's been on there the last couple weeks. This is what is on the CPO's website. So actually, why don't I just go and show you where that link is. Well, while this is going, anybody know a good joke? Any good Tuesday morning jokes out there? Oh, there we go. You'll have to circle back for a joke for me. It is on. So you go to the CPO website out here. In the calendar of events, you have the link. Top. Right here. So here's the link. Feel free to share this link. I don't plan on this changing at all. If for any reason, I think these are set up for perpetuity. So every Tuesday, feel free to log in, and there's no password there, so you can always jump in and get on the calls. And then
Hey,
this last
David.
slide is just what we've been, for those that are new to the trainings, this is kind of the stuff that we'll be talking about on these Tuesdays. If there's a CPO notice, if there's a CPO memo, any new forms or processes, updates to the system and bid buy, as well as just general procurement training. I know there's a lot of overlap in bid buy because as we have these little changes, we want to make sure that we're letting you know of those changes in real time. But I foresee as we go further into these calls that we'll dip into some more specific procurement training too. So that is really all I have today. If you want me to go back over and any of those, do we have any questions in terms of the clarification on step 7, financial disclosures, that informal checkbox? I know on the previous job aids we had guided you to check that informal box. So moving forward, that is going to be a difference for you. If you're new to BidBuy, you don't have to worry about that. You just move right past that box.
Hey, David, are these slides going to be available?
Yes, I'm gonna go ahead and email these straight out to everybody on the call right now. And then I am also going to be, thank you, you actually reminded me, out on the CPO's website, I'm going to be working on getting them posted. So all the previous meetings, recordings, and slides will be down here. There'll be another icon at the bottom here. So great question, but I will send these slides out directly right after this call. As soon as once I record, I click stop and it kind of processes. It takes about a half hour to process the recording, and then I can run the report and see everybody that's on the call today, and I'll just send it directly to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? See, we got a couple questions here. Will the agencies receive notice when job aids processes change? Can you advise the schedule of upcoming changes? Yes, so anytime that I put out a new process manual or job aid, I'll send directly to the APOs and SPOs because that's the list that we keep. So, and then it'll be really up to the APO at that point to disseminate who needs to see it. But at the end of the day, we also always say, if you're looking at a job aid, go out to the latest version and use that version too. So that's just another reminder. We don't want you, I understand, the temptation to just print it and, set it on the wall or something like that. I guess as long as the version number is the same, then I think that would be okay. But if it's really easy just to go out to our website and always use that latest version. Can you advise the schedule on upcoming changes? That's really as they're needed. Like I said, the emergency and renewal job aids are going to be out very soon. And then I think there are a couple other ones that might need to be touched up. But either way, I'm going to be, let you know on this call as well as an email to the APO and SPOs. All right. So if we have any other questions? Okay, here's a good question. Are informal bids relevant for bids less than $10,000, or do you recommend formal bids on everything? So if it's a small purchase less than $10,000, it wouldn't even go to the bid stage. So that's going to be a requisition. You go out and do your quotes, to the small businesses. You're receiving all your quotes just at the requisition stage. So then you recommend to award. It goes through the proper approval paths, and then you convert it straight to PO. So it won't be, it wouldn't even be relevant to those less than $10,000 for the formal bid. Great question, though. I think that's something that is on a lot of people's minds. All right, not seeing any other questions. I'm going to go ahead and close the call. I'll record it, and I will let everybody know once they are out here. The past slides are out here, as well as I'll send out the ones from today. All right, have a great day, everybody. See you next Tuesday. And if you're wondering, I'm rooting for the Astros.